Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Well everybody, today I'm going to close the book on Disney's animated Cinderella Trilogy. If you may recall, during my blogs on the first two movies, I felt that Walt Disney's Cinderella from 1950 was an animation classic that saved Walt Disney's animation studio after World War II, filled with great characters, memorable moments, enchanting songs, and legendary voice acting. While the second movie, while not one of my favorite sequels due to it being a 3-segment package movie, it had pretty good animation, promising voice acting, and decent songs. Also, I'm still surprised that it was Disney's top-selling animated sequel of 2002. However, about 5 years later, during the late 2000s, Disney asked 3 questions regarding the trilogy that I'm sure everybody remembers. What if the magic was taken away? What if the slipper didn't fit? Could the dream still come true? Well, let's find out as we look at Cinderella's third movie and see what I think about it. So, released to DVD on February 6, 2007, the movie is Cinderella 3: A Twist in Time. Now, let's get started. On the first anniversary of Cinderella's marriage to Prince Henry, her stepsister Anastasia finds and steals Fairy Godmother's wand in the forest. Unfortunately, Cinderella's cruel stepmother, Lady Tremaine, uses it to reverse time, making the famous glass slipper fit Anastasia's foot before Cinderella has the chance to try it on, and she casts a spell to make Prince Henry forget who he danced with at the ball the previous night. Now, Cinderella, along with her mouse friends Jock and Gus, must find a way to foil Lady Tremaine's scheme and reclaim her prince. Now, what are my thoughts on the movie? Well, in my opinion, this film was a major improvement over Cinderella 2. Plus, there were moments that were very epic and thought-provoking, but I'm getting really ahead of myself. Let's just move on to Mustang notes. Now, this movie was Walt Disney Television Animation Australia's final feature due to the studio's closure and the equipment auctioned off once Cinderella 3's production was completed in July 2006. Unlike the previous sequel, Cinderella 2: Dreams Come True, which was mostly made in Japan, Cinderella 3's animators were given meticulous model sheets and extensive live-action sequences for animation reference. Kind of like what the first movie did. Also, the movie had an additional production service at Toon City Animation Inc. in Manila, Philippines, and it was the first direct-to-DVD Disney sequel to contain the new Walt Disney Pictures logo from 2006 onwards. Now, in my opinion, Disney Toon Studios does a great job with their style of hand-drawn animation, and it almost feels reminiscent to the first movie's style. Also, I like the fact that this sequel mostly takes place at the Royal Palace. As for the story, well, I think that it was a very twisted, epic, and a very thought-provoking movie, due to the villain, Lady Tremaine, meddling with Cinderella's happily ever after with magic and time travel. Speaking of which, I heard that this film shares a few similarities to a stage musical from the Disney Cruise Line called Twice Charmed, which I have not seen yet, but I do hope to check it out someday. Also, even though Terra, Aqua, and Ventus have already been to this world about a decade ago during the events of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, I think this movie could make an interesting level for a future Kingdom Hearts game, since time travel is a very important subject in the games. And who knows, maybe Riku or Kairi might go there. Plus, some of the most memorable moments in this movie, in my opinion, include the part where Cinderella and her mice friends are trapped in a twisted pumpkin coach driven by Lucifer, which I think could be the inspiration for the Cursed Coach Unversed, and the chase scene, which I think was pretty funny. Plus, I thought the final climax during the wedding scene was really thrilling, and it was absolutely touching when Cinderella and Anastasia made amends and became true sisters, just like Princess Sophia and Princess Amber 5 years later. However, my one nitpick with this movie is that several characters, like the other mice, along with Bruno and Major, are absent in this movie due to budget limitations. And now, let's move on to the movie's song numbers. For this film, they were written by frequent Disney songwriters Alan Zachary and Michael Weiner. The first song to talk about in this film is the opening song, Perfectly Perfect, which is sung while Cinderella and Prince Henry are attending a picnic that Fairy Godmother, Jock and Gus have prepared in order to celebrate their first anniversary. To me, I think this is a great song and a sweet way to open up the movie. And I like the part where Cinderella looks back at the memories from her first dance with Prince Henry and their wedding. However, at the same time, Anastasia wanders off from the chateau and stumbles upon the picnic. While watching, she steals Fairy Godmother's wand after she inadvertently drops it. Next is More Than a Dream, sung by Cinderella, while she remembers that magical night that she spent at the ball while dancing with Prince Henry, and later she sings it while she sets out to the palace with Jock, Gus, and her bluebirds in hope to see Henry again. In my opinion, this is another great song, and it feels pretty reminiscent to the songs that we know from the Disney Renaissance, like Part of Your World and Belle's reprise song. Plus, I like how the animators reused moments from So This Is Love from the first film. Also, later in the film, the song gets a sad reprise while Cinderella is boarding a ship after she is banished from the kingdom. Our next song is At the Ball, which is sung by Jock and Gus while trying to help Prince Henry back on track by telling him the whole story, and they also help him remember who he truly danced with at the ball. Now, in my opinion, this is my favorite song in the whole film, due to it being a very comical duet mixed with charades. Also, I like the part where the mice encourage Henry to rescue Cinderella and bring her back to the castle, and where Cinderella's bluebirds show him the other slipper which they fixed as proof. And finally, there's I Still Believe, performed during the end credits by the beautiful Hayden Panettiere. Now, in my opinion, this is a really remarkable and romantic song, and I really love how the credits showcase images of everybody's happily ever after. Plus, I think Hayden Panettiere has a wonderful singing voice. And now let's move on to the characters and the voice actors who brought him to life. Our main character, Cinderella, is once again voiced by Jennifer Hale, best known from the Powerpuff Girls TV series, Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, Totally Spies, and Codename Kids Next Door. In this movie, while she's still sweet, humble, and kind, Cinderella is shown to also be cunning, tactical, persistent, and a fierce rival to those who oppress her. Also, I like that Cinderella relies solely on her intelligence, like when she sneaks into the palace disguised as a servant, and her fearlessness, like when she stands up to her evil stepmother. And also throughout this movie, she's determined to restore her happy life and her relationship with Prince Henry, as well as saving Anastasia from her mother's cruel and vain influence, when it becomes clear that she too is suffering. Oh, bonus fact. This film mentions that Cinderella's feet are a size 4.5. Next is her stepsister, Anastasia, voiced by the current Daisy Duck, Trez MacNeille, who also voiced Babs Bunny from Tiny Toon Adventures, Dot Warner from the Animaniacs series, Chip and Gadget Hackwrench from Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, and Osono from Kiki's Delivery Service. After Cinderella moved into the palace and married Prince Henry, Anastasia and Drizella are forced to do all the work that Cinderella used to do. But anyway, like in the second movie, Anastasia's character is fleshed out considerably, and while she did make a huge mistake by stealing Fairy Godmother's wand and accidentally petrifying her, she becomes a lot more sympathetic. And I like that she's interested in finding someone who will love her for who she is on the inside. Also, at the end of the movie, Anastasia moves into the palace with Cinderella and Prince Henry and she reunites with Lathan the Baker from the second movie. Next we have Prince Henry, voiced by Christopher Daniel Barnes, who voiced Prince Eric in The Little Mermaid and Spider-Man from Spider-Man the Animated Series. Now, compared to the first two films, Henry has a bigger role in this film, and I think he has a lot of character development throughout this movie. Despite being brainwashed by Lady Tremaine, I think Henry is a very romantic person due to him expressing that all he wants is love as true as the one his parents had shared. Plus, I think Henry is a skilled fencer as shown while he was practicing with his dad, and he's also very rebellious, daring, and humorous, like during the scene where he jumps out the castle window and when he rescues Cinderella from banishment. Plus, I also like the part where Henry defeats Lady Tremaine by deflecting her magic with his sword. Next we come to Cinderella's mice friends, Jock and Gus, voiced by Rob Paulsen and Corey Burton. As usual, these two steal the entire show for me, and throughout this movie, they have some of the most memorable and hilarious moments ever, like when they help Cinderella sneak into the palace by wreaking havoc in the kitchen, and they are pretty talented at charades, kinda like Pip from Enchanted. Also, I like that they witnessed Lady Tremaine casting a spell on Prince Henry, and I also thought it was funny when they used magic on Lucifer while being chased. Fairy Godmother is voiced by the late Minnie Mouse Russi Taylor. Now, despite the fact that she doesn't get a lot of screen time here due to Anastasia accidentally petrifying her, I feel like she gets a lot of character build-up due to her mentioning that her magic wand can be extremely dangerous if it ever fell into the wrong hands. Henry's dad, the king, is voiced by Andrei Stojka, who's best known for voicing Owl in several Winnie the Pooh films, and he voiced the Grim Creeper in Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School. Now, like in the first film, the king has a hot-headed temper, but at the same time, he has a romantic personality, and he looks forward to seeing his son married. However, during this movie, I like that the king has more interactions with his son, Prince Henry, and he gets a bit of character development when he talks about his deceased wife. And I like that he becomes an inspiring influence upon Anastasia, like during the part where he teaches her about love. And I thought it was very sweet when he gives Anastasia his wife's seashell. Next we come to the movie's villain, Cinderella's evil stepmother, Lady Tremaine, voiced by Suzanne Blakesley, best known for voicing Wanda from The Fairly OddParents, along with Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians 2 Patch's London Adventures, Madame Leota from The Haunted Mansion Holiday, and she's the current voice of my childhood nightmare, Maleficent. Now, this evil woman has been praised by many as one of the nastiest and classic villains while Walt Disney was still alive. However, in this film, aside from being cold and cruel, Lady Tremaine has taken a more darker turn due to her becoming much more openly abusive towards her own biological daughters, specifically towards Anastasia, and after getting her hands on Fairy Godmother's wand, she plans to ruin Cinderella's happy ending and steal it for her own daughters in order to gain access to a life in the palace. Not only does she turn back time, but she also enchants the glass slipper to fit Anastasia's foot, she breaks the other slipper, and she puts a spell on Prince Henry to make him forget Cinderella and make him believe that Anastasia was the girl who he danced with at the ball. Plus, she even tries to banish Cinderella, but thankfully that fails after Henry finds out the truth, thanks to Jock and Gus's help. However, like most villains, Lady Tremaine gains a backup plan by transforming Anastasia into Cinderella, which also fails when Anastasia says, "I don't," during the wedding. In the end, Lady Tremaine gets defeated when she and Drizella get turned into toads and they become scullery maids shortly later. We also have Anastasia's older sister, Drizella, also voiced by Russi Taylor. In this film, Drizella remains cruel and jealous of Cinderella's happily ever after, and unlike Anastasia, who only wants someone to love her, Drizella wants to become dirty, filthy, stinkin' rich. Finally, we come to Lady Tremaine's cat, Lucifer, vocalized by Frank Welker. Like in the first film, Lucifer is the same mean, sneaky cat who likes to chase Cinderella's mice friends. But his most notable scene in this movie is when Lucifer is transformed into a human coachman by Lady Tremaine's magic, and he's ordered to send Cinderella, Jock, and Gus as far away from the palace as possible, preferably to their deaths. Thankfully, Cinderella is able to punish the mean kitty by knocking him off the carriage and sending him falling into a lake deep within the woods. Also, in my eyes, Lucifer's human form is like a mix of LeFou from Beauty and the Beast and the coachman from Pinocchio. And now let's move on to my final words. Overall, Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time, is a very thrilling sequel in this Disney Princess trilogy. The hand-drawn animation is fantastic, and I think it pays homage to the original. The story is epic, thought-provoking, dark, and humorous, and the songs are very sweet and fun to listen to. Plus, I like that Cinderella goes from a reactive Disney princess to a more proactive one. And I like that Anastasia goes from a simple evil brat into a kind character with feelings. Prince Henry is a daring character. The mice are great supporting characters who always steal the show. And the villain, Lady Tremaine, is a lot more dark and menacing compared to her role in the first movie. Lastly, all the voice actors do a terrific job, and trust me, this is a Disney sequel that everybody should check out. And if I ever do a countdown video of Disney sequels in the future, this film would definitely have a spot on it. As for my rating, oh what the hey, I give it a full 100%. So a few characters are absent, so what? Anyway, that's all for now. Be sure to join me for my next blog, Mustang Power.